All right. So, warm good evening to you, both of you.
Good evening.
Christabel and Dr. Vinay Prabhu. I'm really feeling good to interact with you. We have been here for the last 5 days. We had a discussion journey, creative, analytic type of journey. We tried to creatively analyze that small incident of is that so, and then a rather deep analysis on that well-known parable, The Sound of the Forest, available in the pages of Harvard Business Review. And today, 20th of November 2022, we are going to discuss another significant parable from the perspective of Zen. The parable named The Girl and the Monks. So the parable is named The Girl and the Monks. So what do you think the possible nature of that parable, the contents of the parable?
I think the word girl is taboo for most monks, so there probably is going to be something to do with something that Zen monks have to work towards.
Brilliant, brilliant. Do you have any additional perspective, Christabel? Do you have any further idea to what Dr. Vinay said?
Not to, in addition to what he said, but a completely different perspective, maybe an orphan girl child.
Once again?
Maybe an orphaned girl child who is brought to the
monks.
monks.
And possible probable responses or events that happened subsequently. And could you little explain what you said, monks and what you said, could you please expand a little bit?
Traditionally, girls are not part of monasteries, and I don't recall girls being sent to the monastery like we would have heard of other parables, Zen parables, where young men or any man would have been sent or volunteered to go to a monastery to learn some lesson. But unchaperoned girl with a monk is a little bit of an extraordinary situation. So I think the parable will be quite extraordinary.
Yeah, definitely the parable, being a Zen parable, is really or truly extraordinary. As we have briefly considered before, the Zen perspective is conveyed, transmitted to the disciples or the novice more than 90% of the time through the medium of parables. Because the great Zen masters or the Zen mystics realized from the very beginning, when they got this perspective, traveled from India via China, via Hong Kong to Japan, they realized that the greater orbits of experience, the greater realities, subtle, intangible realities of existence or the universal things and events and phenomena just cannot be taught. No words can carry that. So they realized that. Unlike perhaps the other mystics in other parts of the world, especially the Indian mystics who go on giving long lectures with apparently no significant consequences or sustainable consequences. So that's why they resorted to parables. Parables are a unique medium, reflecting upon which the attention and reflection and the conceptualization can get an inspiration, firing to capture the phenomenon implied. To my knowledge, Jesus was the first one, not even Zen Masters. Jesus was the first one to use parables to convey the subtlest realities or the subtlest messages or subtlest guidelines to the people. So Zen Masters have these parables. And this is one, this parable named Monks and the Girl is one of the primary parables mostly given to the initiatives or the novices in the monasteries. And in this context I have to tell you the disciples who approached the monks or the masters in the monasteries after whatever initial period, they had to do only one thing, just to listen the parable from the master and then go and reflect on these parables and come back to the master to reveal their observations, to describe the sounds of the forest of the parable they have been given to. And most of the time they may have to go back to the forest. And it is told that the disciples were very much confused because the Zen masters were so tough, so rigorous that they would really disregard or even even punish the disciple if they come with just like that a question. But hearing the question they would know whether it was a considered, reflected question or just like that a question asked for the sake of question. So I'm just talking about the methodology of the Zen monasteries. So coming back to the parable of the monks and the girl given to the initiated people, newly initiated disciples in the Zen monasteries, it goes this way. Two monks were on a journey. One of them was a senior monk, senior-most monk sort of, because he was heading the largest monastery of the country. And the other monk was a little junior, but nevertheless he was also heading a monastery. Both of them were traveling together in a horse cart. Can you see them traveling? So when I asked you the question, can you see them traveling, that's also an important part of reflecting upon the parable. They have to see what is being told, but they have to see what is named by the words of the parable. Because the words are just the names of the things and entities and events and phenomena and contexts referred to in whatever is being reported by the words. So words per se would carry certain meanings, comprehensible meanings, palatable meanings, sensible meanings, which may provide the required satisfaction to the curiosity of normal audience. But in the context of the parables in the Zen monasteries, the disciples would be first trained rigorously, almost for a year, maybe more than that I suppose, to develop the competency to see what is being told. It may be easy to visualize, see meaning, see in their internal mental screen, to see or to project the possible, probable entities named monks would be relatively easy, and in that one can have the entire freedom to see the way he or she decides. Nobody can see what he or she, nobody can question. That's, apart from that, it is their true responsibility and sincerity and commitment and dedication to fulfill to their own completeness. That is, I see two monks, two senior monks, Zen monks, seated in a horse cart, and the journey begins. But every word is a name of something, is a reality, is a fact, is 100% truth. But that truth cannot be normally conveyed to the general population at all. For various reasons, hidden as well as maybe strategic reasons. Because, for example, if people insist on seeing the thing referred to by their deity or god, then there will be a problem. Because it is not easy to see subtle things named by words. For example, I tell you that I had a beautiful cup. I had a cup gifted by a friend of mine. Okay, you can visualize a cup. It is easy to visualize a cup. Being a material object, the listeners also have seen that. Then I say it was a beautiful cup. Then there is a problem. What is that which is named beautiful? So, to my roughly statistical assessment of languages, more than 70% of the words in all languages are naming subtle, intangible, hidden, imperceptible levels of the realities. Like a cup and the beautiful cup. Dance, the great dance. Dance somebody may be able to visualize. What is great? So in my normal training programs in creative analytical thinking, I will train the participants for about half an hour, but in my serious programs, which would take about 2 years, I train the participants to be thoroughly capable of seeing what is being told. So the thing seen is called a referent, that means that which is referred to by a word. This is the thing referred to by the word pencil, English word pencil. So this thing is the referent of the word pencil. This thing is the referent of the word comb. The so-called color of this pencil, blue, and what you see there is the referent of the word blue. And if I say, I love this pencil, what is the referent of the word love here vis-a-vis a pencil? So you got a feel of the word and the referent distinction. Not a word of difference, but a universe of difference is there. In general, this methodology is not at all possible in normal education. It can be done in a monastery where there are only 3 or 5 or 9 disciples. Because when the what you call referent reality perspective is to be trained, you cannot talk fast. Okay. Because, for example, you have to now see the referent of 2 monks in a horse cart. You can have maybe a split second internal visualization of 2 Zen monks in a horse cart. You can do it in 1 minute. You can do it in 10 minutes. You can do it in 1 hour. You can even do it in 5 hours. Also, because when you see that to that details, you will see even an insect holding on to the wheel of the cart. You will see the texture of the wheel. You will see the cloth, the details of the cloth, every fold of that cloth. That will take time. But to say two Zen monks who are traveling on a horse cart, I would not take you in 10 seconds. That is the problem. But the wonder or the puzzling paradox is that you comprehended in that 1 second itself. Two monks who were traveling in a horse cart. You comprehended it. So that is the advantage as well as the supreme disadvantage of the human beings, that they are not benefited by the language at that level. They have only peripheral advantage of just cognition of what is being told, comprehension of what is being told. The reality or the referent is never touched upon. And one more, then the next orbit of complexity of referent is that this pencil is the referent for the time being of the word pencil. I said for the time being. The word pencil is quite an invariant so long as English language is there, P-E-N-C-I-L. But there can be million references. Like the word human being is the same, but every human being is individually different in multiple and unknown countless ways. Therefore comes the next concept called referent reality. So referent reality, when you look at referent reality, we have to necessarily focus on a given thing. Because a given pencil itself has a great lot of realities attached to that. Can you say, for example, at least 3 points of the reality of this pencil?
It is a blue pencil.
Alright.
It is a sharpened pencil.
Alright.
And it is a new pencil.
Okay.
Or new in the sense it's a long pencil. It hasn't been.
Yeah, it's a long pencil. Okay. That's all.
Any more?
Hundreds more.
Yes.
Yes.
Because what you reported are the visible realities
Yes.
linkage to this reference.
You can describe
there's
the,
more,
the material, the...
Also whose pencil, who it belonged to,
Yeah.
who is using it, who is holding it, who manufactured it, who is going to be given to.
As of now, there is no other pencil in the whole world like this. Because right now it is held in my hands, for example. Right now this particular pencil is being talked about by Dr. Vinay and Christabel, and I am showing it in the thing. This is only one pencil in the whole universe of pencils. That also is a reality linkage, definitely not philosophy, to this pencil. And similar realities are linkage to perhaps every other pencil in the world. Even when 2 new brand pencils are rolled out of that manufacturing device, 2 pencils will have 2 realities. Can you say why? Or what?
They have separate destinies. They will go in different.
That's a little too much. That is for sure. Beautiful, beautiful. That's for sure. I'm telling at that point of time, it has just come out, ejected out of the whatever lathe or whatever machine, and it stays there. Is there any difference in the reality of those 2?
The position where they are.
Certainly. Those 2 pencils are occupying 2 different spaces of this universe.
Yeah.
One pencil just cannot occupy the space of other. That's, if that is the case with such a deceptively simple context, now we can. So that what I call referent reality perception, which of course is my methodology for creative analytical thinking. It is slightly presented in my 2 books. One is The Missing Engines of Management Education, available at Amazon.com, and the other is Organization Enterlaki, Creative Manager genius leader and Taoic process. So this I must say because I want to play a little bit of claiming the origin of those ideas. And when we talk about the referent of origin, see, the word origin is clear to almost every reasonably educated individual in English language anywhere in the world. What is the referent of the word origin? So an answer. That's why I have written my book. They are not my books. Because I am not able to discern where it originated. Because I see the referent of origination. And when I look for the origin, vis-a-vis the referent or the pencil named origin, I am not able to clearly identify which part of this body, which part of this mind, whether in this body at all, for example. I am just making an extension to make you impressed about the significant, perhaps the most significant engine that you have to create inside you. Because language is the number one tool and perhaps the only one tool of human beings. It is the number one and the only one tool and the most significant tool because every individual communicates to one's own self. Almost all so-called psychological, behavioral, relationship, etc., kind of problems which plague the humanity now, or an individual now, they are primarily originated in that person and originated by the advantage of so-called language. Yeah, the two monks. That's why I have written in one of my books, in my research, film directors are the most creative people. Not even Albert Einstein, not even Thomas Edison, not even the greatest name. If you look at the scale of the extravagant fancy required to conceive a scene, a setting, looking at the shooting script. I have interviewed one of the top dance masters in Tamil film. Education, class 10 failed. But worked with some other dance masters, etc., etc. She is in the film industry. Now very well known. And some of the dances in India, Indian films, it can cost up to 3 crore just one dance sequence. Because 5 seconds in Mount Road, Madras, 7 seconds in what you call Mumbai city, and then next 5 seconds in Thailand, like that. Because the entire crew has to be taken there, the work of getting the permission from authorities, permission from other significant agencies, makeup, all these things for 3 minutes in Singapore, wherever location. It all involves money. So, this lady is ready to say, yes, please do it, sir. I guarantee that it will work. Even before it is shot, and here I have chosen the example of the wonderful dance choreographer, because sitting before me is a great supreme dancer of India, Christabel, who had originality to fall in love with a dance form which is not at all of India. When she was very young, the Russian ballet. She had to visualize every movement, every position, every setting, every expression, every response, every whatever of that dance form. And harmonize it, ensure that every performer is perfectly tuned and harmony with the music. And her attention has to go to the details of the corners of the eye of every dancer. So the dance master is much more creative than the dancer, definitely. So the dance choreographer, that's a very silly word which I don't like. It's okay, but a choreographer is a creative genius because she has seen the referent of the dance of that particular lyric and that music. Also, to a great extent, the referent reality linkages also. That's why a dance which can be done entirely inside the studio floor is taken to various locations of the world, spending crores in order to get to the linkages of the referent. Like this pencil is being held in my hand, this pencil is having a reality that senior head of the department of medical in a medical college is also looking at it. A great dancer is looking at it. See, if this pencil was alive, of course it is alive, what would be its feeling? So she has to, or the film director, much more advanced, has to create appropriate linkages to that. For instance, one more example, that well-known shot in the film Titanic carried the most dominant posters all over the world, both of them standing like that on the tip of Titanic. They can stand like that anywhere. They can stand like that and do the same expression and dialogue on the bed of the room, on a main road, or in a garden, or on top of a bridge, anywhere. But the linkage of that scene is that it is on the tip of that so-called Titanic. That creates that impression in the audience. The audience does not have to necessarily think, yeah, it is that Titanic, and they are standing there, oh, therefore it is wonderful. They don't have to do it. And if you remember that shot, before the camera comes there, camera begins with the so-called pan shot. It covers the entire ocean and finally the camera comes and focuses on these two people. That is the director's genius. Which I think most of the film directors definitely would have shot that way. But they may not have conceived that situation. I mean, that I don't have to say. It's okay. So what I'm telling is, that is the reality linkages of the referent of those two people standing and doing the dialogues and expressions and actions. That is the referent of that shot. But the reality of that referent contains the tip of Titanic, which has its own huge realities. See? All these things are instantly linked even in an ordinary audience. That in turn indicate the reality of the referent of the capacity of almost every human being in the world. Aham Brahmasmi. But unfortunately they never realize that even they are able to enjoy the wonder of a masterpiece created by a super film genius without any training. You don't need any training to enjoy the details of the music in general. So we need a little bit of training to enjoy a superior dance form like that of Christabel or what Mandra Rishika does, Bharatanatyam, and especially Kathakali. I think the most complex dance form, most complex than any other dance forms in the world. Average audience for Kathakali is less than 10, Christabel. Yes, less than 10. Average. Even when the major set, there are major set Kathakali artists, major set meaning the veterans, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70 years old Kathakali artists, having lived their life for understanding the most dilute details of Kathakali. They are performing on the stage. At that level, they don't have the sensitivity by way of expression because their sensitivities are never tested to that level. That's it. So the two monks are on a journey. Two Zen monks. If you want to shoot a documentary, you need a lot of effort to research. You need a casting director to choose an appropriate looking face and the capability of that actor to carry the gravity of his Zen master. Plus heads of monasteries. So that is their internal gravity, the so-called self-image of them. That they are not only monks which requires 17 to 19 years of rigorous, let's say, imprisonment in the monasteries under the most ridiculous masters. Then only they will, I don't know whether they become a monk after that. And then they have to be elevated to a certain level to be called a Zen master. And then as the height increases, as the height of the Everest increases, only Edmund Hillary kind of people can transport their body to that level. A normal Zen master cannot be positioned at the level of the head of a monastery. So such two people are traveling together. Do you see any significance in these two Zen monks, heads of monasteries traveling together? How do you explain that? How do you create a script for that?
I think they were probably going through some very important event